You're watching Daybreak on Arise News. Now let's cross live to the State House here in Abuja, where President Muhammadu Buhari is addressing the country.
My dear compatriots, I have found it necessary to address you today on the state of the nation and to render account on the efforts of our administration to sustain and strengthen our economy, enhance the fight against corruption, and sustain our gains in the fight against terrorism and insecurity, which has undoubtedly been impacted by several internal and external factors. Particularly, I'm addressing you as your democratically elected president to identify with you and express my sympathy over the difficulties being experienced as we continue the implementation of new monetary policies aimed at boosting our economy and tightening of the loopholes associated with money laundering. Let me reassure Nigerians that strengthening our economy, enhancing security, and blockage of leakages associated with illicit financial flows remain top priority of our administration. And I shall remain committed to my oath of protecting and advancing the interests of Nigerians and the nation at all times. In the last quarter of 2022, I authorized the Central Bank of Nigeria to redesign the 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira Nigerian banknotes. For a smooth transition, I similarly approved that the redesigned banknotes should circulate concurrently with the old banknotes till 31st January 2023, before the old notes cease to be legal tender. In appreciation of the systemic and human difficulties encountered during implementation and in response to the appeal of all citizens, an extension of 10 days was authorized till 10th February 2023 for the completion of the process. All these activities are being carried out within the ambit of the Constitution, the relevant law under the CBN Act 2007, and in line with global best practices. Fellow citizens, while I seek your understanding and patience during this transient phase of implementation, I feel obliged to avail you a few critical points underpinning the policy decision. These include A, the need to restore the statutory ability of the CBN to keep a firm control over money in circulation. In 2015, when this administration commenced its first term, currency in circulation was only 1.4 trillion naira. B, the proportion of currency outside banks grew from 78% in 2015 to 85% in 2022. As of October 2022, therefore, currency in circulation has risen to 3.23 trillion naira, out of which only 500 billion naira was within the banking system, while 2.7 trillion naira remain permanently outside the system, thereby distorting the financial policy and the efficient management of inflation. C. The huge volume of banknotes outside the banking system has proven to be practically unavailable for economic activities and by implication retard the attainment of potential economic growth. Economic growth projections make it imperative for government to aim at expanding financial inclusion in the country by reducing the number of the unbanked population. And E, given the prevailing security situation across the country, which keeps improving, it also becomes compelling for government to deepen its continuing support for security agencies to successfully combat banditry and ransom taking in Nigeria. Notwithstanding the initial setbacks experience, the evaluation and feedback mechanism set up has revealed that gains have emerged from the policy initiative. I have been reliably informed that since the commencement of this program, about 2.1 trillion naira out of the banknotes previously held outside the banking system had been successfully retrieved. This represents about 80% of such funds. In the short to medium and long terms, therefore, it is expected that there would be a strengthening of our macroeconomic parameters, B, reduction of money supply, leading to a deceleration of the velocity of money in the economy, which should result in less pressures on domestic prices. C, lowering of inflation as a result of the accompanying decline in money supply that will slow the pace of inflation. D, collapse of illegal economic activities, which would help to stem corruption and the acquisition of money through illegal ways. E, exchange rate stability. F, availability of easy loans and lowering of interest rates. And G, greater visibility and transparency of our financial actions, translating to efficient enforcement of our anti-money laundering legislations. I am not unaware of the obstacles placed on the path of innocent Nigerians by unscrupulous officials in the banking industry, entrusted with the process of implementation of the new monetary policy. I am deeply pained and sincerely sympathize with you all over these unintended outcomes. To stem this tide, I have directed the CBN to deploy all legitimate resources and legal means to ensure that our citizens are adequately educated on the policy, enjoy easy access to cash withdrawal through availability of appropriate amount of currency and the ability to make deposits. I have similarly directed the CBN should intensify collaboration with anti-corruption agencies so as to ensure that any institution or persons found to have impeded or sabotaged the implementation should be made to bear the full weight of the law. During the extended phase of the deadline for currency swap, I listened to invaluable pieces of advice from well-meaning citizens and institutions across the nation. I similarly consulted widely with representatives of the state governors as well as the Council of State. Above all, as an administration that respects the rule of law, I have also noted that the subject matter is before the courts of our land and some pronouncements have been made. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknotes be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira note ceases to be legal tender. In line with Section 20, subsection 3 of the CBN Act 2007, all existing old 1,000 naira and 500 naira notes remain redeemable at CBN and designated points. Considering the health of our economy and the legacy we must bequeath to the next administration and future generations of Nigerians, I admonish every citizen to strive harder to make their deposits by taking advantage of the platforms and windows being provided by the CBN. Let me assure Nigerians that our administration will continue to assess the implementation with a view to ensuring that Nigerians are not unnecessarily burdened. In this regard, the CBN shall ensure that new notes become more available and accessible to our citizens through the banks. I wish to once more appeal for your understanding till we overcome this difficult transient phase within the shortest possible time. Fellow citizens, on the 25th of February 2023, the nation will be electing a new president and National Assembly members. I am aware that this new monetary policy has also contributed immensely to the minimization of the influence of money in politics. This is a positive departure from the past and represents a bold legacy step by this administration towards laying a strong foundation for free and fair elections. I urge every citizen, therefore, to go out to vote for their candidates of choice without fear, because security shall be provided and your vote shall count. I, however, admonish you to eschew violence and avoid actions capable of disrupting the electoral processes. I wish us all a successful general elections. Thank you for listening. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari speaking on the cash crunch. Some of the things that he mentioned there was the proportion of currency outside banks grew in 2022, distorting economic activities, hindering economic growth. And the big story there is that the old 200 naira notes now he has ordered the Central Bank of Nigeria to recirculate only the 200 naira notes back into circulation, and 500 naira notes, 1,000 naira notes still not legal tender. That's the old note. Let's bring in Emmanuel Bello now, who joins us to discuss what President Muhammadu Buhari has just said. Emmanuel, old 200 naira notes to be released back as legal tender for 60 days. That's from February 10th to April 10th. What does this change?
Well, actually, pretty nothing much. If you look at the hardship that is being experienced, and I think that's why the president had to step in a broadcast. I mean, it's not every time you see President Buhari making this broadcast that normally start with those national anthems and all of that, reminiscent of the early days of our country, where we normally wait for 7 o'clock broadcast on Independence Day. Those kind of broadcasts for the president and this presidency are always done when something really, really serious is afoot. And you agree with me, Nkechi, that this has been the leading talk and the big issue for some time now. I think what was meant to just be a monetary policy, or actually snowball into something else, with people even saying that it was going to affect the coming election. And I think this is where the president had to come in. Remember yesterday, Nkechi, Emefiele was also doing the same storm when he was discussing the benefits of the monetary policy, talking to the diplomatic cycle and telling them that diplomatic community, telling them that, look, well, it's important that we suck out these monies from the communities, so that these monies can be banked, and that's a lot of money. The president was actually repeating some of those things Emefiele said yesterday, and also repeating some of the things he has said earlier in Nkechi at the start of this policy, which is that it is money taken outside, out of circulation to stop some of those nefarious activities around loose money in the country, and especially as it relates to vote buying. He doubled down on that in this speech. In the concluding part of his speech, it was very clear again about it, that the idea is that people should not use undue, wealth, money to buy votes, so that Nigerians can actually have a cashless election where money does not play any role. How much of that are the campaign? How are the campaigns going to react to this speech is something that will be interesting to watch. Certainly, the APC doesn't seem to be very happy with all that has been happening with the presidential candidate and his men of the APC, saying that, look, this is not a policy anchored on reason, or even on common sense, or even the care for people or people's welfare. The president saying he understands all the pain, and he understands the pain in the land, and that is why he's stepping in and appealing for some kind of understanding. A lot of people will say this is the sort of thing that the president and the CBN chief should have done earlier on, to buy in Nigerians and to give it time. A lot of people are worried about the timing, but the president saying this will not affect anything. We're going ahead with the policy. Of course, with that little change that you announced earlier, 200 naira notes remain legal tenders. But people saying, look, the money that politicians have stashed away might not be those same denominations that the president is releasing. So yes, to your question, I don't know whether this has solved a lot of problems.
Well, Emmanuel, a lot of people would say that this is good news for them to ease the pains of the cash shortage that's been going on for weeks now. And some people probably have the old 200 naira notes. They will be able to spend them now. And for those who do not have it, the central bank will be re-releasing them. And you can walk into the banks now and get the old 200 naira notes, but not the 500 or the 1,000. Emmanuel Bello, the governor in Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, it does appear that he preempted the president's speech, and he did say in a statement yesterday that he's not comfortable with this re-release of only the 200 naira notes.
Well, and I think it's the big picture for me, Kenneth, is actually this, what you've just said now, that everything is still within the APC. You know, it was an APC policy. It's still APC governors that are fighting it. It was the APC governors who went to court. And it's the same. So it's the first time we're seeing this kind of, internal meltdown of a party or even of a government, of a regime around a policy that it set up itself. So a lot of Nigerians are bound to look at this and wonder what's going on, because it's like, this is some of the talking points are not from even the opposition. It's not from PDP, for instance. It's from El-Rufai, an APC governor, saying that, look, some of the president's policy was not well thought out, and he was very vehement, 2 weeks ago over the CBN policy, and like you say, practically preempting the president on what has just happened. So like I say, the APC, funny enough, is the one that is really crying foul over what looks like what is clearly a policy of its own government, its own regime, its own party. Was it that they weren't carried, the president didn't carry them along? Was this a private thing done? All sort of insinuations.
Even if he didn't carry them along, everyone should be happy with a cashless election or a cashless economy.
Everyone, unless those who wanted to cash in on what the cash will have done. I mean, we're playing on words now. Yes, but there are politicians who didn't like it. I mean, and this goes to the very heart of what the president still reiterated in this broadcast, saying that, look, he wants a transparent election. He wants an election that, it's not bound by unnecessary vote buying, by a lot of money. So what the APC and its candidate and this campaign have done in criticizing this policy in the way they've done, is to give the impression that this was actually aimed against them. Of course, other parties too, actually, in fairness to the APC, actually came in to say, look, something has to be done. I think Obi standard differently, say there should be understanding, and that it's common practice, it's global practice, it's happened elsewhere in the world. And there are a lot of people that will say, well, they like it, they like the policy, it has actually reduced all sorts of nefarious activity in the country. But not everyone is happy, and you're right, El-Rufai seemed to be in the lead, even going to the court, of saying that, look, these policies have not really helped. Goes to the heart of the matter that the president actually capped up his speech with today, that said, look, it has to do with this election. His, stated mission that he wants to keep on this country a transparent election, and one that is not tainted with money.
Yes, and that was really the heart of President Buhari's speech, when he said that policy was not only meant to reduce those nefarious activities like you've spoken about, kidnapping, money laundering. He said it was to minimize the influence of money in politics. And then at the end, he said, look, the citizens, go out and vote any candidate of your choice, and don't be afraid, security will be provided. Another party that I'll say in this case, Emmanuel Bello, that may not be happy is the Supreme Court. There's a subsisting order that these 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes the old notes should remain legal tender, barring or pending the determination of the suit, which has now been adjourned to February 22nd. And now you have President Buhari's order telling the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, to re-release the old 200 naira notes back into society as a legal tender. What's going on?
Yeah, well, before that, Nkechi, you mentioned that the president said, people should go out and vote the candidate of their choice. Anytime he says that, his party is not happy with that. They think he should be stomping for them at rallies. And even when he makes a speech like this, he's the president. He's asking, he's saying that Nigerians should vote any candidate of their choice. That's what a president should say in a democracy. But sometimes they expect him to actually say, go vote for my candidate or the candidate of my choice. He's already made it so clear that he has a candidate, of course, in the race, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But in this speech, he's saying, look, I want to be a transparent election, one that is devoid of vote buying, and go vote the candidate of your choice. We're going to provide you all the security needed. When his base, his party, hears him talking like this, they don't feel he's giving them the kind of push, the kind of support that they will be needing from the power of incumbency. Almost as if he's saying that, look, I don't have a dog in the race. Everyone can go do his own voting. But a lot of Nigerians like that, Nkechi, that the president says things like that, that these elections are not going to be unduly interfered with whether by policies or even by his own person. Yes, the crisis between the CBN and the Supreme Court is one that Nigerians are watching. The Supreme Court has already said that, look, it's going to be very clear about its judgment on the 22nd. Few days to the presidential election in Kenya. I don't know if you lose sight of that, but 22nd is just few days to the elections, and you had the president. Everything around this issue is geared towards these elections to make them transparent, to make them, less burdensome on the people, and that you take away the incidence of vote buying. From the first day the president spoke about this, vote buying had been at the heart of it. So it's about these elections, and everyone is watching to see how this drama pans out.
Yeah, still talking the elections, cashless elections, looking forward to it. Emmanuel, it's 9 days to the election. Today is the 16th, and come the 25th, eligible voters will be going to pick a candidate of their choice. Let's go back to that statement the president made about deciding who you want. No, go out there and vote, your choice. Why does it irk his party when he says things like this?
Well, yeah, basically because Kenneth, the president is supposed to be like the chief marketer of the candidate of their party. That's what presidents at this level do. They take out the candidates, and then they sell him. They ensure that he's out there all the time. So, but when the president say things like that, when he say, "Look, vote the candidate of your choice," his party or the base does not hear that as really stomping for their candidate. It seems as if the president is saying something else. They expect him to be very, very emphatic, very specific, and on the kind of person or the candidates that Nigerians should go and vote for. But you see, this president has always maintained, and I think in these last days of his administration, he is very clear about how he wants these elections to go. He wants them in a matter of days. He wants them to be elections that are not unduly interfered with, either by his person or by policies or by anything. And some people say that this policy, he said that himself, that look, it's about vote buying. From day one, when we start reporting this, say, look, it's about, I think they didn't envisage all the crises, the problem that you and I are facing. And some people are beginning to talk, some of the crises, some of the protests you see on the street are actually orchestrated. In Edo State, for instance, Oshomole was accused by the government there that, look, he actually orchestrated those bank burning and those attacks on the banks and everything, all as part of the crisis of disconnect from what it's looking now between the party on one hand and of course the president on the other hand. And the president standing very strongly and saying this is the policy he wants to push into its bitter end. In this speech, asking Nigerians to actually side with him on this. This is an appeal that is making to Nigerians that, look, I need your understanding. I need you to stand with me on this. We just want to take out money from the economy, cash from the streets while this election lasts. So, and I think that's why his party and his base is not really happy with him, because they feel that this is going to affect elections and all that. And I think the president had to do this because of the growing anger out there. Some people say this anger is actually masterminded, and that you and I, that this policy is not aimed at, really don't care, and we're okay with the cashlessness of it all. How many of us actually spend those kind of monies in a day? But whatever it is, the hardship is there. You cannot discountenance it. That is not fuel. That is not instigated from outside. It is the pain you and I are feeling because we don't have it. But the president is appealing for calm. He's saying, look, this is an operation. This is surgery we need to do because we're facing a very critical moment. And you agree with me, Kenneth. This is one of the most critical elections of our lives, and that he wants a transition that is anchored on reason, anchored on transparency and free and fair election, such that you don't have to people will not buy votes. The big question is that, is he really sure that those votes are not going to be but anyway, it looks to me like right now this is the right time. I think the stage has been set for people for such a thing. If anybody was thinking of selling their votes, if they find these new naira notes, they'll probably be ready to sell votes. But that's what the president say he's fighting against, so that Nigerians go out there, vote the candidates of their choice. His party doesn't like him when he says things like that. They would prefer that he's very clear and specific about Tinubu and that you should vote for him. But he's saying, look, no, I'm the president. I want to provide a level playing field for all the contestants, and of course for the electorate to be able to make informed decisions, not procured, not influenced.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello.